All right, episode 4, 17 Nexus, covering the deal memo. Now, episode 3 was kind of covered by already from the AI agent. So shout out Notebook LM for doing that. It was pretty cool and kind of funny, I would say, in my humble opinion. But yeah, just get straight into it. Liquid Piston started in 2003, 2004. It's an ICE company, and their focus really is just to improve and revolutionize internal combustion engines as it's known to be. These are really large systems and power systems themselves. They're trying to reduce the size of it by 80%, which they've already achieved, and also improve fuel efficiency by 30%. So yeah, smaller, more efficient engines, well pioneered and positioned, I'd say, in the defense space to provide amazing solutions where there's an increased demand for these kind of power solutions as well. But yeah, the industry cover would be very much energy and engine technology. I'd say that's really what they're focused on. The investment thesis is pretty simple. They're primed to capitalize on the evolution of this space, really, and the defense technology space itself. Increase budgets. US is spending what, north of 800 billion now on its defense budget, which is pretty crazy number. Increased demand for efficiency too. You're looking at power systems that, yeah, fuel is the key thing behind any military, and especially the US knows it itself, one of the largest military entities in the world. To reduce their burden on fuel and also the logistics and supply of fuel as well is a key thing. This energy or technology solution, the ICE itself, is poised to hopefully offer that. And also hybrid electric systems too. Early 2000s, there weren't really any hybrid systems in the defense space, I would say. Now it's 2024 and lots of hybrid solutions around everywhere, really, from UAVs, tanks are now even tapping into the space too, the new whole change of the Western tanks in 2020s. And yeah, very much like the team. They've been doing this ever since, again, early 2000s. Father-son duo. With R&D, I'd say it's a truth you have to play the long game. And also in this space too, what matters is building that credibility and that value through execution of contracts, right? You only get revenue or funding through the ability to win the contracts, um, position yourself for future contracts and then execute. And I say if you can keep reproducing that cycle and executing on those cylinders, growth is destined for you, really. I don't think anything else can stop you. But yeah, moving on to the problem statement. Key pain points addressed by liquid piston. So you're looking at inefficiency of conventional engines, bulk and weight constraints too, vibration and noise, and fuel flexibility. So to go into those, again, smaller engine and more improved efficiency as well. With their new high efficiency hybrid cycle, which is actually a pretty cool thing they're working on and I've executed on already. The bulk and weight constraints, again, smaller lighter engines, I'm pretty sure anyone in the defense space would very much welcome this solution. Vibration and noise, it's actually funny how practical and how important this is in the defense space, especially combat itself and everything. So reducing the practice of these two, I don't know what you want to call them, channels significantly helps in that entity or in that environment. The next one's fuel flexibility, which is such a key thing. So even the JP8 fuel that goes behind fueling the M1 Abrams. So like American meme, it's like oh American freedom and stuff. And it's like well the American military. What's the first kind of image that pops into your head? Maybe the M1 Abrams, and it should pop into your head. JP8 is a really really key important fuel system, and to that point alone as well, it's probably a key fuel system in itself for the whole NATO contingent. So yeah, diesel, gasoline, natural gas, these things were used in older submarines before now they're nuclear and everything. So the evolution is there, right? Back in the 80s and 90s, diesel submarines were really a key evolution at that time. 2024, you're looking at nuclear submarines now, which can do amazing stuff. But yeah, target market's pretty interesting. And one thing the AI agents didn't really, well, they did cover it, but then I'll probably go in more depth on it here. So there's two target markets, I'd say. There's primary focus and potential future expansion. So you're looking at the US defense sector. This is their bread and butter. Department of Defense, this is where they have to be in to win, but also stay in and just grow, right? It's a simple strategy. Potential future expansion is commercial AVs, industrial power systems, and hybrid electrical range extenders. This is interesting, and for specific reasons, probably another fallacy or another shortfall of this deal memo is the exclusion of. I did cover global markets, but I didn't really go to global, geographical global. It's very much focused on US only. And to go into that too, I personally don't like seeing global market. Um, information on pitch decks and stuff. Maybe it's a bad practice, and maybe with time that will change as well. But yeah, to get back to this point here, it's one thing that you won't see on the Steel Memo, and I think I'd like to give the Steel Memo to other people in this space, more reputable and more experienced than me, and ask them to go through it, review it, give it a score, maybe what they like and dislike, and recommendations for future ones. But yeah, it's just one thing I decided to keep up. But going back to this here, one thing I like to point on is they have to win the primary focus. And I think even to some degree too, maybe the next 10, 20 years, stay focused here and don't consider branching out into other potential spaces until the R&D is complete. And then you have a product that can actually go out there to these other industries or spaces, right? But yeah, we'll move down to the solution overview. So they're providing a pretty cool product. It's called the XTS 210 engine. 25 horsepower, two-stroke, supercharged, liquid cooled. And key benefits of it is a smaller engine, able to punch out under 350 grams kilowatts per an hour. And again, its multi-fuel capabilities is just off the charts, I'd say. Applications, you can see here, it's in really the defense space, the UAVs, portable power systems, and hybrid electric platforms too. It's changing everything we know. And I would like to probably use an example here, or case as well, to reinforce this. Invasion of Iraq and all that stuff there. Vehicles, infantry vehicles, right? First, you had the Humvee, which was actually a piece of crap. Well, to say it was a piece of crap, it was an infamous part of the US military for a long time period. And they still use it now to this day because it's easy to produce, reliable, all that kind of stuff there. But soldier survivability, zero to none. The bulletproof nowhere. It could blow up pretty easily too from IEDs and RPGs and stuff. And yeah, these things were meant to destroy transport vehicles, right? Same for other NATO entities at the time too, just simple vehicles. Funny enough, maybe the Jackal and so were pretty innovative. UK vehicles, and they kind of maybe had already the whole shape. Well, debatable too. But yeah, the point I'm trying to make is that was old vehicle using old known fuel sources. Now we have the MRAPs, which are meant to improve soldier reliability, survivability, and yeah, V-shaped hull evolution there, and its whole wheel drivetrain system, all that kind of stuff there. It's pretty cool again, and maybe due to the whole EV space, and now we have new powertrains and everything. Why not transition transport and logistical vehicles to be hybrids, powered or even electrical powered? Decreases your dependency on fuel, which is hard to get and hard to supply to all vehicles and entities themselves. That transition, I'd say, is destined to happen really in the next 10 years alone in the defense space. It's more efficient and it's easier to just make their lives, or the supply logistics life, guys, a whole lot easier as well. But yeah, future potential again in commercial and industrial sectors. Note for the Steel Memo, again, I will not include of analysis or commercial and industrial sectors, given it's the future possibility rather than the current certainty. So yeah, like I said, we won't really cover that. Market opportunity, yeah, this is where I just go into town on my understanding of the market and space. So the defense sector is evolving. 800 billion allocated to the US defense budget in 2023. There's significant investments already in the space. UAVs is going up now more than ever, and unfortunately, you can see the importance of UAVs alone in the conflicts, well, the war in Ukraine right now. And hybrid electrical systems create more opportunities for any defense entity and any country itself. So below, you'll actually see a few reports covering the aircraft engine market and military market. And again, this is where commercial was excluded, but maybe for future deal memos, I shouldn't really exclude it. And again, go into more the global rather than just geographical markets. But yeah, so the first one is aircraft engine market. Global aircraft engine market was valued at $95.1 billion in 2023, and just destined to grow over the future years, and hopefully by 2032, if this is correct, reaching almost 179 billion. The military market, again, global military aircraft, such a key thing now more than ever, and it's key parcel of US doctrine. But yeah, 10.45 billion in 2023 and expected to go up to 16 billion. And yeah, just more growth and potential in these two markets here. Now moving on to the TAM, SAM, and SOM analysis. This has been executed through my personal efforts and assumptions, and I think everything is probably more so assumptions. But yeah, first time actually going through this kind of stuff and actually bumping into it as well. But it's really cool to do it. I'd say ex-consultant for a year and a bit, whatever. It's pretty cool. But yeah, we'll get right into it. So total addressable market is TAM, and you're basically looking at the addressable market that the startup can position itself and enter itself in, and also play in. And that's really the reason why you invest in these startups, right? But looking at the scope, there's 55 Department of Defense entities and roughly about 1,500 defense contractors or subcontractors, right? So this would be known as your total potential customers. The formula for TAM is total potential customers multiplied by the average revenue per customer. And the TAM here is 1,555 multiplied by $2.5 million gives you 3.89 billion US dollars here. So I'd say that's the total addressable market. So even a paragraph here, just to summarize it and go over some points I didn't raise earlier. Given LiquidPiston's position, primarily serving the Department of Defense, incorporation of commercial and industrial entities would see the total potential customers go up significantly, but it's not their focus right now. And the average revenue per customer is unique in the sense that they're not selling to the public yet. They're still very much focused on contracts, revolution of their technology, and just reproducing that cycle again and again. And it was interesting to some degree. Well, in actuality, I did have to bounce this back with ChatGPT and stuff. Department of Defense and contracts, it's a niche space, right? Well, niche, but also big space. But also, the size of contracts always change depending on the project or what the Department of Defense really want, and then who also is going to execute on that. So even trying to figure out how much possibly quote one contract size could be is pretty debatable. So I had that debate with ChatGPT back and forth, and it's like, look, you can win some big ones, can win some small ones, but for this case here, be conservative. And I think it's something I follow lots of startup finance, or not finance, fintech, VC stuff on Instagram, and it's a great place or way for me to learn in some degree. One thing I've also learned too is probably another shortcoming of this deal memo is know when to be conservative and know when to be ambitious when writing these things there. So I'd say 2.5 million is very conservative as a contract itself. That's it right there. But at the same time, I'd rather be conservative and then it blows up and it's significantly correct, rather than be like over ambitious, over crazy and everything, and it's just like you missed the mark by at least 2 miles, right? But that being said, too, 3.89 billion, my assumption, my calculation, significantly higher. This should be, given the exclusion of the commercial space itself. So yeah, but we'll see what time says. And moving on to the next one, you're looking at serviceable addressable market. So you take the time, you work out the time. Serviceable is basically where LiquidPiston can penetrate that time space and say, okay, cool, there's a good chance we can hold on to maybe like 5%, 10%, or 15% of the space and own it and provide solutions and value to those people in that percentage. So yeah, penetration rate is a key thing you have to kind of assume and jockey with. So I assume that 5% of TAM based on LiquidPiston's current focus and growth trajectory. And the formula for this is very much TAM times penetration rate. So we take 3.89 billion, times that by 5%, you get 194.38 million US dollars. And looking back on this, even when I was doing it, the TAM, SAM, and SOM, super conservative, I would say. But again, I would take that approach and stance. And respect to TAM, I assume that LiquidPiston could penetrate it and secure 5%, as I speculate that the demand for compact, innovative, efficient energies will rise over the years to come. I mean, in all due respect, I'll put a bet on that and say, yeah, this is bloody true for the next 10, 20 years. 2050? Oh, yeah. I mean, it's another case again, or it's even a real one too. Hyundai is looking to create the new K3 engine, so it's moving on from the K2 engine. Really, really cool tank over there in that part of the world. And the K3 is supposedly supposed to be the first hybrid electric tank. So in NATO, everything's changing. M1 Abrams is now M1 Abrams X. I think General Dynamics is behind that. Better engine, fewer crew as well. I think it's gone down from 4 to 3. You're looking at the infamous Leopard and all the iterations it's gone through, the 2A6, 2A7. And now they have the KF51 Panther, and everyone kind of jokes Germany's moving interesting. We have the Puma back, we have the Panther back, and there was another one that we don't have back, but these were tanks back in World War II, so everyone in the space, or at least on Reddit's like, whoa, Germany, chill. You're kind of probably remilitarizing the Rhineland here, but yeah. Challenger as well. Yeah, the Challenger 2, now we have the Challenger 3 coming out. And IV vehicles and APCs, all these things are changing too. The power systems, drivetrains. Maybe I'm yapping, but again, moving from fuel, moving to hybrid, it's easier to provide better solutions for this. But the K3, super ambitious tank. And if Hyundai pull it off, everything changes, as we know. But yeah, that's the SAM, and that was the tangent on the SAM there. It's destined to happen, I think, with time, and that's the beautiful thing with time and technology. These two things go hand in hand, I'd say. SOM. So SOM is serviceable, obtainable market. So that's basically the SAM. Anytime about a market share, again, that you would assume that they can win, hopefully in the next short term, really. And this is an interesting one. And maybe I'll say her. Tam Sam, these acronyms are crazy. I was conservative. Some, I'm actually optimistic. So this will be interesting to see how this plays out in the future, especially in the next 3 to 5 years. But assume that they can achieve 30% of the SAM, which I'd say is achievable in the next 3 to 5 years. I'll still stand by that. The formula for SOM is very easy. So you have the SAM multiplied by market share. Again, I believe that they'll win 30% of the market share. And that comes out to 58.31 million US dollars. And next 3 to 5 years to win that, again, R&D, we have the prototypes and doing tests and whatnot with the Department of Defense and everything. Yeah, that's good. I think there's another case I want to bring up here. I don't know if I should be using the word case, but you look at great companies like, well, even now, Nvidia and probably us Wall Street analysts back in the day when they first started and stuff, especially in the 2000s, like, hey, what does this future look like or valuation look like for Nvidia, right? And Nvidia's doing great stuff now. And what's funny is Nvidia and AMD going up, but Dell and Intel going down. And it's crazy because back in the 2000s, Intel and Dell were probably the OGs and legacy guys. Well, legacy companies were OGs in that space, and now they're going through partnerships to try stay alive, those two companies. But again, the beauty of time and technology. But that being said, in 3 to 5 years, 58 million. This is heavily dependent on the points I raised down below. So their strong ability to win further contracts with defense entities, paramount. If they don't win that, then Liquid dies, unfortunately. Timing concerning an increase in demand for compact, efficient engines. I mean, yeah, if you know anything about defense space and its evolution alone, I mean, all due respect, you look at especially NATO and its history of conflicts in the 21st century, you already would have seen the evolution itself. From small appliances that they use, or even energy systems they use on their bases, to the vehicles they transport troops in, all this kind of stuff here, yada yada yada. It's changing and shifting. It is, and it has to. And the key thing behind that is, well, if you want to make a new vehicle, transport vehicle, logistical vehicle, whatever. I mean, engineers probably know it better than me, but you gotta look at the engine, the drivetrain, weight, power ratio, all these kind of stuff here, and how much members do you want to have, or people do you want to have in the vehicle, defense capabilities, noise, thermal reading, all this kind of stuff here, yada yada yada. I need to stop saying yada yada yada. But it is all evolving because it has to. Maybe it's funny, the founder of Anduril said Andor's not really here to win when war comes, and they don't want to benefit from war. And even the COO said it on Harry Stebbins' podcast. That was a great podcast to just tap into and listen to. But do they win when war happens? It's debatable. But the point he said that was pretty interesting was they're growing and they're doing what they're doing and great stuff too to make sure that the US doesn't have to go to war, NATO doesn't have to go to war. One thing Ukraine has shown is, tangent here, is how important supply, munitions, and also missiles are. But yeah, moving on to the third point there, staying true to its niche and what it's doing well. I think this is one of my concerns for Liquid Piston, given the whole startup space and everything. It's easy to get distracted and see other potential revenue streams or channels to go down to. I think one thing, it probably might be a red flag as well, or even a green flag, I would say, is your obsession with one particular space industry and really a pain point in that space and industry, right? If you can just double down on that, play the long game, reiterate and learn from the customers, Department of Defense, again, as a whole cycle, win-win. It's a perfect transaction, I would say. The competitive landscape. So this is interesting. Wow, the competition here is more powerful now more than ever. There's legacy entities, as you'll see here, Rolls-Royce Defense, General Electric, and a few others. One thing I'd like to say again, probably it's true in this space and it's observable, or it can be observed. Companies grow, big companies become legacy ones, Lockheed, Boeing, all these guys here, Northrop Grumman, all of them. Funny enough, old as well. Most of these companies were founded, well, Northrop Grumman, well, Grumman itself was back in World War II, and they did quite a bit for the US and the Pacific theater and stuff. But all of them founded in the 20th century, these legacy ones, Lockheed, Boeing, um, Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics, and so on and so forth. A few acquisitions here and there. So Lockheed and Martin were actually separate. Um, and many other acquisitions took place. The latest one was 2020, and I think it was Raytheon and General Dynamics, but don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. And the point I'm trying to make, or the point I will make now, these companies, again, cost plus is a cancer in the defense space, especially for US alone. That's why startups can win in this space too. But what you've seen is large companies, when they become large, I think they lose the ability they try to do everything well. And to do everything well is interesting. I still don't understand to what degree I believe with that and stuff. But maybe even the truth is they become stagnant, right? They win the contracts, cost plus. There's no real desire or survival need for them to innovate and provide something groundbreaking, right? To that point too, that's kind of contrary. Well, kind of wrong as well because FA5 is a pretty cool piece of kit. Big budget. They won that. B2 radar is pretty cool. But these are whole aircraft systems, right? Not one small engine or one small weapon system like the SIG. Holy crap. You're looking at so to give you context, the SIG SAL system, the weapon platform for the US is being revolutionized itself. And I don't know how SIG did it, but I might have to do a case study on SIG as well. You're looking at M4s, M16s, M249, M240 Bravo, all the guns US military soldiers use, right? USMC, to the Army, Navy, all those guys. SIG is now going to change the whole weapon system. I think it's 7.62. Lighter weapon systems, all that stuff there. And it's like, oh, bloody hell. And I just figured that was a pretty cool thing to bring up too. So the evolution's happening everywhere, from weapon systems to energy systems itself. But going on from there, it kind of reinforces why I believe in Liquid Piston as well, their differentiation. Large companies can focus on this, but maybe it's not attractive for them because of contract size or the ability to make money from it and stuff. Again, compact engines, more efficient ones, multi-fuel capability, ability to just change up the whole engine system too and the challenges it faces. And this is debatable. Again, I'd leave it into the hands of more ICE experts themselves to probably go into this and, say, is it really revolutionary or whatnot? But how I Liquid Piston pitch it and how I see the technology systems as well, it does seem revolutionary. Key validation as well, so reinforcing points that says or illustrates, the success or the direction or trajectory Liquid Piston can go down is they won high value contracts with the AFWERX and DevCom as well. Again, two great entities in the Department of Defense doing really great stuff. And to win those and execute on those improves the visibility and ability to just execute on the technology you have. So I'm pretty sure the Department of Defense is pretty happy to have Liquid Piston exist and be around. Moving on to the next one, it's founder team analysis. So we have Dr. Alexander Schlonik, and he did his PhD in mechanical engineering, specializing in thermodynamics back at MIT. And so this is the father of it all, right? And you have Nikolai Schlonik, I'm saying this correctly, physicist and inventor with decades of rotary engine expertise. And funny enough, He also what was it? No, I actually got that wrong. Holy crap. So Nikolai is the son, the doctor is the father. Apologies there. But again, one thing I like here is it's interesting. It's one thing haven't I don't know how to feel about yet. But father, son, husband, wives, again, startups and build great things and whatnot, and family and business. Yeah, I don't know if you should mix the two. Maybe you can, but what thing, maybe and what just squashes that point command in itself is that 2003, 2004 was just an idea, and they crack on with it and just work on it. 2024 now, 20 years of just focusing and persisting, winning the contracts and getting funding, growing the team, playing the long game. Really, really long game, right? I only heard about these guys back in 2023 and wrote the check size, small check size, right? And yeah, I think that's one thing I love about certain entities and startups is that it's interesting. Some can be great and win very, very fast, like YouTube did, 2005, 2006 acquisition. Others, like Canva and so, play the long bloody game and just persist. So that's a good sign, I'd say, and a really cool, great strength of theirs as well. So moving on from that, the strengths as well. Having read the statements, financial statements as well. Can't really disclose too much because again, it's private information. But they're north of 80 patents in the space, so technology is a key thing too. But at the same time, I think Elon Musk himself said it. Patents don't really mean much in the space as well, especially technology space. What matters is execution, right? And the ability to go out there, do the hard work and execute and show the results of the execution. And another strength of theirs is the ability to just deliver on high stake contracts. And these are high stakes. I'd like to think and understand and hope to understand that Department of Defense is very deliberate with who they give contracts to and how they want those to be returned. I think if you fail on one contract, that's you, it's done, GG. But if you keep playing the game, win them, execute on them, Department of Defense is like, oh, that's pretty cool. Let's go again. Focus on this now. Yada yada yada. I said yada yada again. You got to stop that, Kamani. But yeah, play that game again. Just reiterate the product and solution. And just go again and again. Yeah. Challenges. It'll be interesting. Again, it's an R&D company, very much in the ICE space. Again, they do have a few prototypes and probably a few engines out there doing these tests and whatnot. It's that transition from being a research entity to then being a research entity and a producer, right, or supplier of this platform and technology they're offering. And another challenge I'd say as well, probably the founders, and I'd like to think the father-son duo are tunnel vision now more than ever, but also know what the future can hold in the next 20, 30 years for this company. But it is possible that they could break into the commercial sector. One thing that makes me scared and hesitant about that is I don't think you can focus on two things well. Because what the Department of Defense or maybe the US Army or US Air Force want from the engine when you're doing the contracts and testing it in the field will be significantly different to what a commercial UAV or vehicle company want, right? And maybe you have more funding, grow the team and all that stuff, yada yada yada. But those are kind of signs that are pretty interesting and can be kind of red flags themselves. Scale AI kind of bumped into that when they went through the hiring frenzy, 2020s and stuff. But yeah, that being said, the challenge is if they break down into the commercial sector whilst doing the research and development for Department of Defense, I'd say they shouldn't do that. And if they stay on the true road of focusing on just R&D, military, and the Department of Defense, it's a win-win. So investment thesis, why now? I think probably looking at this, investment thesis should be at the top or the start of it, of the deal. We're really just got to extend here, right? But we'll still go over it. So why now? Again, defense industry needs a change, and it's happening. 2004 to 2024, 2024 to 2044, industry as we know it's going to change. Why this company? I think the crux of it, and probably it just comes down to one fact, one observable truth. 20 years in the space. You don't have to start this back in 2004. And all due respect, 2004, who had the vision to understand that this industry would be where it is now in 2024, right? Maybe few future tellers and stuff, but again, the power. If I was somebody who's just been at this for 20 years, you can't cheat that. You can't. You just can't, and that's powerful. I feel like in the space, especially some startups focus on just growing, being acquired, and just forgive me, probably not adding much value to. Well, they still add value because there's a there's a number or numerical value behind it too. But great companies, I would say, play the long game and add value significantly to society and humanity it's themselves. You have startups that are really just focused on money and generate money. It's not a bad thing, but what separates the great companies from good companies is understanding that money isn't the sole reason why they're in the game or space, right? Apple, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all these kind of stuff said. There were OGs back in 2000s and whatnot. WhatsApp, Instagram, hell, Pinterest, all these kind of guys said great companies. You can list many, right? Startups. The great ones weren't really money focused, I would say. Maybe that's why they're still around doing great stuff, or have already been acquired and still present to this day, doing great stuff. But yeah, that's one thing I also kind of look out for as an investor is the game they want to play. Is it a long-term game or short-term game? And I think 9 times out of 10, I'd rather the long-term game. So moving on from there, potential upside coming in from my understanding of Tam, Sam, Som. Valuation growth. Whew. I think there's great potential here for them to exceed 500 million market valuation. I think now from deal room or pitch deck, I think I probably named that wrong itself. They're north of 200 million valuation, and it's pretty decent for a small company like them. And again, within 7 years, I think that north of being north of 500 is easy, given their ability to just execute and do the small things correct and well. And ambitious, possible north of 1 billion in 10 years. We'll wait and see, right? If they do reach that, or maybe they get acquired on the journey within 7 years. But yeah, again, LiquidPiston, I think that's the potential upside for them. That being said, I'm a strong believer that it is space as well. Department of Defense, but also just defense itself. It's a space positively or in a good way known for acquisitions because technology solutions, whatnot, Anduril's done it. Lockheed, Boeing, legacy companies, startup companies with lots of capital do it, right? Acquire smaller entities and startups or other solutions doing great stuff to enable them to do even amazing stuff. So if LiquidPiston do this well, I think they could become very attractive to larger entities and startups in the space, larger legacy companies, but also other startups in this space. Again, the ability to win contracts, execute, create an innovative product and solution when it goes from that shifting phase of R&D only to R&D and production and supplying of the energy system, they'll become bloody attractive, I would say. And yeah, maybe in the long game, they'll get acquired. But time will tell and see what happens with Liquid. But again, still very much believe in what they're doing. Last part here is risk and mitigation strategies before we close out, really. So yeah, potential challenges is already the first one is the dependency. So funny enough, Kamani, LiquidPiston have to focus on contracts and yeah, but that dependency on that alone, coupled with the ability to transition from testing to full scale development and production, is a challenge and it's tough. One real stream of income or revenue channel, and then when that transition is necessary, can they execute on it? Only time will tell, I would say. The next one is competitive pressure, and competitions is interesting. I'd say if you're doing something great and you're obsessed and believe in what you're doing, I mean, that's why I found to start and build something. Don't really focus on the outside noise. That can sometimes throw you off on what your intentional purpose is. But that being said, competition is all around us. What happens if new startups and new entities or even one of these legacy companies decides to say, hey, the ICE space is big. Let's create a whole division and department there and just revolutionize the space, win the contracts. We already have the network with Department of Defense. Sam and Som, especially some, significantly go down. The serviceable, addressable market and obtainable market. But yeah, again, something like this, only time will tell. Mitigation strategies. Oh, it's kind of a swing here, really, to what degree I know about mitigation strategies. But yeah, continue to focus on R&D, excellence and delivery. Just double down on that, Liquid, and do it great. Strategic hires to bridge the gap between R&D and scale production. Maybe not strategic hires, but a strategic playbook, I would say. Maybe revising deal memos is going to be mitigation strategy again, but also the whole thing again, right? But yeah, it's a small team, focus on R&D, and they're doing great stuff. When the time comes, maybe raise funding from other VC firms or stuff and do things differently, yeah. But again, that whole transition to them producing it and supplying it is going to ask for a strategic playbook. And then the next one is one thing that can help them stay positioned and keep doing the great stuff that they're doing now is deepening the relationships with departments of defense stakeholders. They're already really doing that with the US Army and what was it, the US Air Force too, or divisions in those two branches themselves. And just do that process again. It's very interesting. It's similar to the product space too. You create an MVP, you get it out there to users, customers, or an ideal customer profile. Sit down with them, make them fill out surveys or questionnaires, or even have group call meetings where they just talk about what they like, what they dislike, and that whole product cycle of just doing it again, improving it for the customer, just going again and again and again, and even to some degree too. Maybe the customer doesn't even know what they want and need, so that even allows the leader or the founder to be really ambitious and innovative to steer the future as well. But yeah, do those three things well, liquids, and I think the business case and practice itself will be bulletproof. But again, time will tell. And closing out, yeah, first deal memo. Shout out to Notebook again for doing the first talk through of this, but even me as well. Now it's 37 minutes. Kind of like it though. It's raw and authentic again, and yeah, key milestone for an angel investor. I think so. Yeah, coming from Jason Cowell's book. So I'll actually show it here to you guys. Jason Cowell's book, how to kind of be an angel investor into technology space and startups. Timeless advice for angel investors too. Write deal memos. If you don't write deal memos, you can't learn and observe patterns. And maybe the first true, or even looking at a personal case here, this whole VC space, angel space is driven on human relationships, sociology, psychology, but also ability to observe patterns, right? First company I've ever invested in, defense ICE company. Writing this as a first demo was powerful because if I decide to invest into more startups in this space, I'll be like, hey, in the next 10, 15 years, did liquids get acquired? Did they IPO? Did they become great? All that stuff in the private markets. And if that's the case, the playbook, is it similar to what a new startup's doing now in that future and everything? And yeah, just write more deal memos is the best way to learn and identify patterns and trends. And yeah, this is the first one. Not the best one. Definitely a few things I want to do differently and get prepared for the second one really, which will be covering my investment in Plum. So yeah. With that being said, pretty happy and content with it. And that's the wrap up for this episode. Thanks for listening. And again, this is visually possible too, so you can see me walk through or scroll through as well if you're watching this on YouTube. And one thing I'd like to say is trying to think, the next episode, episode 5, really and truthfully, hopefully, fingers crossed. Jason Calm, looking at my whiteboard here. To be a great angel investor or even break into space, you got to talk to, what was it, 25 founders and 12 angel investors. I mean, it's very easy and possible. You got to network and position yourself right. So that being said, it's now probably a good time to position or put 17 Nexus hopefully in a good space. So I bring on people to come onto the platform, have amazing conversations with them, ask them great questions. They ask me great questions, and yeah, just provide more value. And also, that being said too, educational information and insights for people interested in the space, the angel space, the VC space itself, and just the wider tech startup space. But yeah, thanks for coming in again for episode 4. Thanks for AI to do an episode 3 and episode 5. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll interview someone, and I'm not sure who it will be, but yeah, that being said, thanks again, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.